What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and I feel like this is a good opportunity to bring you guys a dedicated video talking about the anniversary exclusive legends in One Piece Treasure Cruise, kind of ranking them to kind of give you guys a bit more perspective as to when these banners come out with Luffy, Lucci, and Zoro Kaku, like which banner is going to be more valuable now that you have this kind of information in mind, you know, whichever other anniversary exclusive characters are kind of on which banners, that's going to really determine where you should be investing your rainbow gems, right? So we're going to start from the most, from the oldest anniversary exclusive, make our way over to Zoro and Kaku to finish off the video, and I'm just going to rank them in this little tier list here. There are some of these units that are quite good, some of these units are even in the top, like, best legends in the game, but for the majority of things, like, these units are not the end all be all. So by missing anniversary exclusives, it's not the end of the world. And look, the thing is with this worldwide anniversary coming in late February, these characters should be reappearing in the anniversary, the 11th anniversary, coming up in the middle of May this year. So you don't have to wait that much longer if you do miss out on the units that come out for this celebration. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get kick-started into this one with the waifus, the Nami, Robin, and Hancock character. Honestly, I think in terms of where I'd put it in this tier, I think this unit honestly is still quite good. The good thing about this unit is like the healing and then also the paralysis and the attack down removal. Of course, this character did just receive Super Evolution, but, you know, paywalled behind that stupid Sugo Fest during the New Year's celebration. So hopefully they don't continue to do that, but hey, you know, we don't really know what they have planned, but I don't like the fact that they do that. Just paywalling those Super Evolutions is just the worst thing that they've done, honestly, in the most recent times in Treasure Cruise. But honestly, this unit's still quite good, still pretty usable in Pirate Rumble as well, in my opinion. So I think overall, just in terms of normal content, Pirate Rumble as well, this unit is very good. So be happy if you end up pulling this character for the first time. So we're going to pivot over to the K-Dad, Kinemon, Denjiro, Ashura, Doji, Dogstorm. Now, this character is a bit of a mixed bag because I'd say it's probably mid, because the character in normal content is pretty bad. Like, I'd say this character is like bottom of the barrel. The good thing about normal content is for this guy is his final tap is very good. So that is the redeeming quality there. And then the other good thing about this unit is that he has very good Pirate Rumble stuff that definitely sees play. So I think because of that, I would put him in the mid tier. But it kind of just balances out because he's got decent Pirate Rumble and he's got like pretty bad normal, you know, kit in terms of his normal content stuff. So K-Dad, probably middle of the road for me personally. The next one though, this character is bad in pretty much all facets. This Dex 9.5 anniversary Zoro, was it 8.5? I think it was 8.5 anniversary Zoro. Yeah, this guy's just bad in basically all forms. He did actually receive Pirate Rumble buffs somewhat recently, but it didn't really make him that much more usable because there's a lot of other Zoros that are used in Pirate Rumble in his place. So I can't really recommend like pulling specifically just for this guy. He is somewhat good in some like Grand Voyage content. I think against the Captain Morgan Grand Voyage, this guy is somewhat used sometimes in certain teams there. But like in most scenarios, he's just not really worth your time, honestly. Same with this Ace. I think this Ace is also pretty bad. When he first came out, I was like the biggest defender of this guy because I really liked what he did. But as time has progressed, he has gotten progressively worse. He is just not very good at all. It is kind of a shame because a lot of the Ace legends kind of get shafted, except for like the 10th anniversary Ace that we got last year. He was a god, but most other Aces unfortunately kind of you know, they just sit there and just collect dust in character boxes. But yeah, this guy's not very good either. He's alright in Pirate Rumble, but shooter teams need a bit more support for them to actually be good. So I can't really recommend going all out on a Sugo Fest just specifically for this guy. I think this Kid Luffy, I would say he's bad. In Pirate Rumble, he is somewhat usable as a fighter support character. He does okay damage, I guess. And then in normal content, he's just structured really poorly. I'll go ahead and pull him up for you guys so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So the Kid Luffy has like this really weird gimmick where with his captain ability, every turn that passes, he gains +2 to his gauge, and he gets 1 added to his gauge every time he defeats an enemy. So once he gets to, 20 stacks of this gauge, that's where he gets the ability to remove bind duration by 10 turns, and then at 30 stacks, he can remove bind and despair duration, bind and paralysis by 10 turns. And then, like, attack multiplier wise, it's pretty stock standard for most other Sugofest exclusives, but the captain ability really drags him down. His special's okay, like Despair and attack down removal, orb boost for 5 turns, and then you get like the chain buff, and then every time like you hit perfects and move on to the next turn, you can progressively get better and better chain buffs. So there are some interesting use cases for him, but in a lot of the time, he's just not ever going to be used. I will say this character is better than these two. If I'm going to rank them in the tiers, Zoro probably is the worst one. I'd say Luffy is just slightly better than these two, because he does have some redeeming qualities, but most of the time not so much. The next one, though, who came out with the Ace and the Luffy in the treasure map part of that celebration, the Sabo. Sabo is a top tier anniversary exclusive character. The big thing with him is that he just is one of the better units in the game for dealing with special bind. He just removes a ton of it. He does have the ability of fear reduction. He also has a great chain locking ability. He's not really used that much as a captain, but just in terms of the pure utility that he's providing is the main reason why he sees a ton of play. Cerebral Free Spirit is great class combination. He also removes the Rainbow Shield as well. Completely forgot about that. He's super, super good. And then obviously the chain boundary stuff is quite strong. But as I said, you're not really using him as a captain, but the fact that it's a Sabo that gets access to great utility. He also locks slots as well, and then also the chain boundary, as we said. He, as I said as well, with the special bind removal by 7 turns, and then with the special by 7 turns, he also resists special reverse, and as I mentioned, he does have the fear reduction as well. He does have super tandem, but in most cases the super tandem is pretty redundant, but I just love this Sabo. I just use him a ton, and in terms of all of the anniversary exclusives that we've looked at so far, I do use him the most out of these characters that we've looked at. So for those reasons, I would say he is definitely one to look out for. Now, Oden and Toki, I never use this character at all. I literally don't even remember what this character even does. One thing I do remember that they do is they have color affinity boosting effects, but it's a dual unit. You can switch between Oden and Toki. But I mean, the captain ability, you're not going to use this character as a captain all that much. They do have an ability to reduce special cooldown of this character by 1 turn anytime a slasher uses a special, so enabling themselves to get their special back. Their switch effect provides a bit of healing. They get some orb change, and they get an orb boost as well, an overridable orb boost in base, and then the super switch is a flat 2.5 orb boost for slashers. And then, as we mentioned with the special, it does give you healing. It does give you the color affinity boost, which is the major buff there. In terms of utility, though, they do remove Despair and Paralysis by 7 turns, and they also give a 50% slasher resistance. So they are quite good, but a lot of the buffs here are focused on slasher teams. And if you're running a slasher team, are you really going to use this character in a lot of scenarios? Honestly, probably not. This character does have some redeeming qualities because the utility in this character is actually pretty good, but I personally wouldn't go all out on a banner just to pull this unit, because I personally just never ever use this character, and I just can't really recommend you pulling for a character such as that. So next is Shanks from the 9.5 anniversary Sugofest. I have used this Shanks actually a decent amount. One of the cool things about this Shanks is that he has the ability to resist special reverse. Special reverse is definitely one of the more pesky debuffs to deal with, and then he does have the ability to give himself -3 turns of cooldown anytime another Cerebral or Free Spirit uses a special. So there are instances where you can get his special to launch multiple times per quest, even multiple times per turn. The special ability itself does allow you to inflict 100% defense reduction for 2 turns that goes through immunity. That is a very powerful effect. Also, the orb locking part of his special is quite good, and then also it allows you to get an orb boost or a chain boost, just depending on what buffs you have active at the time. And it is annoying to build for with his super effect, but if you can proc the super effect, he does give you a full board of tandem slots. So it's not really a full board of tandem slots, it's a top row to recovery. The rest of your characters get tandem slots, and then the fact that his special ability can lock those slots for multiple turns is quite good. He does remove Despair on his super special, which is again a little bit of a redundant effect if you opt to use him as a crewmate. He does also give you tap timing chain, which could just give you a little bit more bonus damage as well. But in Pyre Rumble, he is actually pretty good as well. I would say he is a mediocre unit. I'm not going to really warrant saying he's a good unit. I don't use him that much personally to list him in the good unit, but he's a pretty overall solid character. Nothing really too crazy. I wouldn't go specifically on a banner just for him, but hey, you know, if this is like the tipping point to get you over the edge and like, oh my god, you know, this guy's also on this banner but not on this banner, then maybe you want to go for that. He's okay. He's a good unit overall, but his counterpart alongside him, Monkey D. Luffy, I think this character is a good unit. I would argue he's close to being top tier. The main reason why I say that is because Monkey D. Luffy, luckily for him, is quite good in Pyre Rumble. He is arguably one of the best Pyre Rumble characters in the game, with that really OP special ability that gives you an attack buff and then 1.5 damage to 2 enemies that ignores defense 3 separate times. So it's basically 6 hits of 1.5 damage through defense. And then also, when you're below 60% health, he also does a further 3.5 times damage in a large range. So he just hits incredibly hard. He's got a great Rumble kit as well in terms of his Rumble ability. So those are the redeeming qualities there. That's the main reason you want this guy. In terms of normal content though, he's not awful. He does boost Fighter, Powerhouse, Slasher, and Free Spirit, so you get a lot of characters boosted here. The big thing is that he does resist paralysis as a captain, and there have been times where using him as a captain has actually been somewhat optimal, because there aren't actually, if you have a look, there's not many Powerhouse or Fighter characters as captains that resist paralysis, so the fact that this is one of those characters is quite good. And the special ability does allow you to inflict the 1.5 times increase damage taken through immunity, which could be also quite good. So I do think that this Luffy, obviously very good in Rumble, but also not too bad in normal content either. Like, this Luffy is quite good. He does have a very good final tap too, if I remember correctly. The final tap is essentially like the K-Dad final tap, where, you know, based on the amount of damage that slashers do is added on top. He does it for strength units. So yeah, Monkey D. Luffy is a very good character and definitely one to look out for. Definitely should be close to top tier, but because his normal stuff, his normal content stuff doesn't really see as much play, I can see a lot of people arguing for him to be top tier, but personally speaking, I wouldn't put him there. Kobe is the next one. Kobe is a fantastic support character for the Luffy that we just talked about in terms of Rumble. He gives really good stuff, really good buffs to strength, and then the special ability as well, which can like haste and put characters to the top of the order and reversing their CT and stuff. So Rumble, he is quite good as a supporter role for strength teams. However, in normal content, I don't really think this guy is all that great. He seems kind of cool on paper, resisting 7 turns of Threshold, full board of tandem slots, rainbow color affinity boost, but then if you've got a fighter or a cerebral captain, you can optionally select one character on your team to become the captain for 1 turn. So I believe this is the first character in the game that enables you to captain switch by selecting any character on your crew. So that's pretty valuable in and of itself. I think this character would be probably in between the mid and the good units. I'd say top of the mid, because there's not really like, I don't really use him all that much, personally speaking, but there are some cool instances where he is going to be quite good, and as I said, a good supporter role for strength in Rumble. But if you don't have him, it's not like your strength teams are going to be lacking. Like, strength is already still a pretty solid color in terms of their damage potential, especially with the most recent super evolution of Bartholomew Kuma. This character just adds to that. Definitely not required, but he's just a good unit to have overall. Our next one is going to be Blackbeard. Blackbeard's a bit of a rough one. Blackbeard is another good unit in Pyre Rumble for these strength teams. And that's kind of like where it ends. I'm going to say he's actually quite a bad unit. He has an interesting captain ability where you can bypass enemy defensive effects with your normal attacks, which a lot of the Blackbeard characters have as a captain. But his special is so centered around using that batch that came out with him, with Jesus Burgess and all of those other rare recruits, because Blackbeard has the ability to inflict a rainbow shield on the opponent, and then you get benefits with the batch if you utilize that type of ability. So this character is just way too hard to use outside of his own dedicated batch, and because of that, I don't really recommend going out on a banner just for this guy. He has interesting Rumble stuff with pretty significant health cuts, but he does have very high special CT, so do keep that in mind. I can't really recommend pulling for this Blackbeard when we have so many other good units, such as the next character being Cross Guild, which is one of my favorite legends in the game. I would argue to be one of the best, just literally one of the best in the game, just period, as I have him, I think, in my tier list 100%. This guy's just super, super good. We all know what he does, you know, set target status and being able to use his special multiple times in a quest, multiple times per turn, potentially. Pretty decent captain ability overall. He completely resists despair, lots of cooldown reduction, great abilities, synergizes well with some of the top units in the game. all reasons why this guy is going to be listed here for sure. If you have the rare recruits from his batch that came out at the time, being the Alvida and the Kabaji Moji character, makes his character even better because of their support effects that you can attach to him, give him cooldown reduction. This is one of the rare instances where Limit Break expanding this character is almost like needed to make him actually function properly. So if you get him, you need to basically invest as much as you can into him to make him perfect, but when he is fully invested, this character is amazing. Definitely worth it. Moving on to, I would say, probably the best character in this whole video, which is going to be Goldie Roger. I mean, again, another character that doesn't need much explanation, but like the special bind removal captain, the special, if you use him as your own captain, use his special ability, use his EX super, you get a like mass amount of attack orb color affinity for 3 turns, and it cannot be removed by the opponent's abilities or your own abilities. It's just nuts. And then a 1-tap super tandem as well, just another good reason on top of it. He just synergizes well with so many powerful units in the game. Like, Roger is the best anniversary exclusive character that we'll be talking about in this video, and if you don't have him, that would be partly the reason why you should be pulling on any one specific part of the upcoming banner with these 2 brand new units. Let's move on to the batch that came out towards the end of last year. So start of which being Roger Rayleigh Gaban. Overall, I have used him a decent amount, and what I will say is I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. He is quite good in Pipe Rumble, being kind of focused on Free Spirit and Slasher, which are very good classes. But personally speaking, I'm just not the biggest fan of him. I think I probably would be more happy to use this guy if I had more investments in his like level limit break, for example. Specifically for Pirate Rumble, because this is one of the rare instances where he does have a super Rumble special, and if you have investments into him, then that special gets buffed even further, and his damage in Pirate Rumble feels kind of lacking. So I feel like if you had this guy at level 150, it would be probably one of the most busted characters in Rumble. But unfortunately, most people are not going to have that, so it's kind of hard to showcase how good that could be. So in my opinion, I think this Roger is kind of a mid character. Yes, he does have Captain Shift, which is a very unique mechanic. But yeah, as I said, I just don't use this character often enough. And I just feel like his abilities are kind of lacking because, like, you've got, like, Rayleigh and Gaban, which have a utility effect, but you only get it if you're in their form as a sub. And then, like, Roger gives you, like, more damage, but you only get that when he's the captain and stuff. So there's some weird scenarios going on with this guy. I'm just not the biggest fan, especially because he is like slasher focused, and he's also the crit focused, like high chance to crit, and then if you land a crit, you remove defensive effects and stuff. Like, I get what they're trying to get at, but I would much rather use so many other characters over him as a captain on a team. But as I said, like, Captain Shift is a very unique mechanic that can help you get around certain debuffs in the future. So that might be one of the reasons why he actually maintains relevancy. So we'll move on to the next one here, which is Kaido and King. Kaido and King are pretty interesting overall. They're quite good in Pirate Rumble, but again, this is another character that I think you can definitely skip and not be too worried about. So the thing is with them is, like, Kaido has some interesting abilities, but the more interesting one is Alba. He has, like, the utility effects that you should be looking out for, like a ton of special bind removal and stuff like that, the special cooldown. They've got some interesting effects going on, but personally, I think I really like the Big Mom and Katakuri. I would rank them as one of the better ones here of these units. Maybe even potentially better than the waifu characters. Main reason is because they're an orb booster. They give you full water similar orbs, which is pretty busted because they're basically rainbow orbs. You cannot switch them around, which is quite powerful for getting through content with them. Also, because of that debuff where, what's it called, like damage reduction versus certain slot effects, I haven't come across one thus far that is like, you know, they take less damage from Semler slots. Like, Semler slots are incredibly rare. They do not pop up, like, very often at all. So this is one of those rare characters that can help you get around that specific debuff exactly, which is kind of cool. And then in Pirate Rumble, man, this character is an absolute menace in Pirate Rumble. One of the main reasons for it is because they're kind of like a utility character. They're a debuffer that kind of sits there. Really good for Driven Powerhouse, good defenses, and then when they're 50% or below, they give levels 5 CT special to themselves and revive self one time at 50% HP. So they're very annoying to get rid of. Every time you kill them, they'll come back at least once. And then a special at only 23 CT that does the half defense on the enemies. You actually do pretty decent damage overall. And then also when their HP is 50% or below, they target all enemies for a 100% chance of half attack, and then also give themselves level 10 attack and level 10 defense. And of course, like these other characters in this batch, this character also has a Super Rumble special, which again is like incredibly good if you get it to work, because it gives you counter, like a really big counter. It provokes and like lots of defenses. So this character just stays alive a bunch, allows you to counter, provoke, very similar to like the driven powerhouse version of Enmazor is like the kind of good way to kind of look at it. The fact is though, this character not only does what Enmazor does, but also has a damage dealing special and can also inflict halving of stats on the opponent. So if you take all that into consideration, yeah, this character is very good in Pirate Rumble. If you're building a driven powerhouse focused team, obviously not color related, but just a straight up driven powerhouse team, this is a mainstay on that team, at least for now as of the recording of this video. Let's move on. We got Odin. I actually don't even remember what Odin does. I mean, like, I haven't pulled this guy honestly, but this character was basically used for his event and then never again. So I believe he does resist special reverse. Yeah, special reverse by 10 turns, so that makes sense. And then the captain shift mechanic, of course, which gives you some chain buffs. And he has a special that removes paralysis, which is quite good. Dex orbs into Wano slots, changes block orbs, and matching slots into deck. So if you have matching slots or block slots, you get a full board of Wano, which is quite interesting. And then being able to perform super tandem with Wano slots. So it's, again, a very, very unique mechanic that only they get access to. I guess that's another thing to talk about this character, Katakuri and Big Mom. Not only do they give you the full board assembler slots, but you can perform super tandem with those assembler slots too. So another reason why this character is so good. And then they also enable attack and orb buffs applied by Slash and Free Spirit characters to be enhanced up to 2 times. Not really a big fan of that effect overall. And then they also have increased damage taken if you have a chain lock activated. Otherwise, you get a chain boundary. Interesting. And then in Pirate Rumble, I don't really see this character being used in Pirate Rumble all that much. They give pretty good stats to Free Spirit, and they target Free Spirit class teammates for an attack buff, target 3 enemies for 4 times damage, and 3 driven enemies for a 50% chance of force out. Only a 50% chance is kind of rough. I would rather it targets less driven units, but for a higher chance of force out to occur. Obviously, if you get 3 of them to be knocked out, that's incredibly powerful, but being only against driven is kind of rough. If this was driven or powerhouse, this would be way, 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 way better. So overall, I think this character is just kind of mid. I think this character is pretty much middle of the road. They've got some redeeming qualities, but I think the characters above them will just see more play and will be more valuable for your account. So I guess a lot of people are kind of wondering, where would I rank these 2 new characters, Luffy Lucci and Zoro Kaku? So I've kind of talked about them extensively in dedicated videos. I do think Luffy and Lucci are very close to being a top tier character. The problem with Luffy and Lucci is that they can be very difficult to use because you need very specific class and typings for your captain to get the full ability to work. Of course, yes, you can just use them as captain and switch them out. Obviously, that is something that you can do. But the other thing that makes them a little less optimal, and why you need to really be careful when you're team building with them, is because not only do they provide a double stacking conditional boost, they give you a conditional boost, but they don't grant the condition to make the conditional boost work. So they give you a delayed or a paralyzed conditional boost, but they don't delay and they don't paralyze the enemy. So it means when you are team building, you have to keep in mind that color and captain specific, but also you need to have another character on your crew that can, either provide different conditional boosts for you, but also you need like a character that can delay them or a character that can paralyze them. So it's just a little wonky to use, but like in like the best case scenario, if you get everything to work effectively, this is one of the best specials in the game. Double stacking conditional boost whilst also granting a conditional boost and set target status that works for all characters is a very powerful mechanic. And this having pretty good synergy with not only the Zoro Kaku, but also Zoro and Sanji to potentially get some cool things to happen there as well. This could be the makings of quite a good high damage team. But the inevitability in the fact that we always get better and better Monkey D. Luffy characters means that this character will probably be power crept within the next half year or so, would be my guess. So we'll have to wait and see how good this character actually is when he drops. The last character here is Zoro and Kaku. Now, of course, this is a very, very, very early look here because we don't even have the characters yet. But I would rank this character as a top tier threat. Main reason for that is because you can basically chuck Zoro and Kaku in any team and they're going to give you pretty good benefits overall. I mean, we've already talked about him extensively, exactly, but this character is quite good. They've got the conditional boost in the captain, which is kind of whatever. The captain ability is fine, but it's not the reason you use them. The Sailor ability to remove attack down is very powerful, and then they also remove attack down in their switch effect, and then also the attack and all boost in their switch effect with their super switch specifically is quite good. but also, like, if you do use them as a captain to grant the conditional boost for 5 turns, you can just use their switch effect every single turn to get a defense down on the enemy to get that conditional boost to be activated, which is pretty cool. And then the special ability, as we know, removing even more attack down, and then also granting the removal of the orb damage reduction effect on the enemy, which I think is this is the only character in the game that can actually remove that specific effect. Also, good chain buff, chain addition, and then also you can get the extending of your conditional boost or whatever on buffing the attack and orb boost, so you can use this switch effect. You can then use the special ability, buff the attack and orb boost from their own kit. And then the super special is also just kind of fine as well to buff that chain boundary that this character just gives you. So Zoro and Kaku have access to pretty good supports. Do they do damage with their special? They do. That's even better. So yeah, they're damage dealing special, fantastic supports, can basically work in any team. They're not color or like class dependent. Obviously their attack and orb boost is class dependent, but like for all of their special to work, they're pretty self-sufficient. You can put them in any team and you'll get some nice effects out of them. And that's the main reason why I would rank them as a very good character to watch out for. So this is how I would rank the anniversary exclusive characters in One Piece Treasure Cruise right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you guys have any thoughts and opinions, definitely let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, there will be a dedicated tier list video coming up probably in the next few days. Once the new characters come out, I'll potentially make a video on them as well. So if I pull them, I might use them as friend captains for videos as well, just to see how they kind of work and stuff, and maybe we can get some cool things going off with them. But as for right now, this is how I'd have it as the anniversary exclusives. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.